Okay, thank you for joining today, gentlemen. Today we'll be doing a tier list of all Final Fantasy XIV expansions.
Okay, let's not screw this up now. This is interrupting my Limsa AFK session.
The only screw-up is you, Joe.
Ah, Kenneth Donnie. Okay, let's start with Endwalker, which I personally thought was excellent.
Wait, stop right there. Are you high? That expansion was bad, just so bad.
Hold on, why are we skipping ahead to Endwalker? Shouldn't we start with A Realm Reborn?
Bad? Are you whack, Jack? Endwalker was an amazing conclusion to the story.
I'm surprised you were awake, Sleepy Joe, to be able to finish the story.
Hold on. You two are both wrong, and we are going to start with A Realm Reborn first. Now, I personally think A Realm Reborn isn't as bad as the community makes it out to be. It did a good job laying the foundation for Eorzea and setting the stage for the rest of the story.
Now, have you lost your goddamn mind? The foundation they laid was about as strong as Trump's wall.
You two both are quite possibly the dumbest people to ever exist. A Realm Reborn has to be one of the worst gameplay experiences I've ever had to experience. The quests are tedious and forgettable. There is barely any voice acting. The zones are generic. And let us not forget how piss easy all the fights are.
Well, frankly, I'm surprised you were able to read all the dialogue.
I skipped the dialogue because it was so incredibly boring.
Oh, wait, hold up. You didn't say you were a cutscene skipper, Donald.
I only skipped the boring parts, and believe me, A Realm Reborn had a lot of boring parts.
Well, I can agree that the dialogue can drag on a bit. It takes time to build up the cast of characters. The final cutscene before Heavensward would not be as impactful if we were thrown together at the last second with the Scions. Honestly, that cutscene had me on the edge of my seat. It created mystery and drama that perfectly led into...
That's right, Heavensward. Not A Realm Reborn, plus there is a reason all the dungeons had to be remade.
The design is a decade old. Almost everything about A Realm Reborn is outdated, just like you.
Shut up, Joe. You haven't even beaten the latest Savage tier yet.
And that's because I'm too busy as elected president for the most popular role-play free company on Balmung. Something you might have trouble believing.
Skill issue.
Okay, fine, I will concede on some of those points, but let's not forget this was a much better improvement than version 1.0 of this game.
Who cares about 1.0 or 2.0? It doesn't make a difference if you replace crap with crap, put it at D tier and move on.
C tier?
D tier. Let's hurry up and move on to the best expansion, Heavensward.
Now, are you insane? Did you forget to take your medications, you wrinkly orange?
You are the wrinkly one, Joe.
Heavensward is good, but it is definitely not the best expansion.
It is, and you know it. Barack, go ahead and drop it in S tier already, and let's move on.
Wait, why don't you like Heavensward Joe? It's been critically acclaimed for a good reason. I mean, it has excellent voice acting. It has one of the most compelling stories ever to be told in a video game. I mean, how can you hate on Sir Emmerich? And what about Hasher Font and Ilzael?
I don't hate Heavensward, but the community acts like it is the centerpiece for their religion with Yoshi P as their savior. Hasher Font this, Hasher Font that. The community and the developers need to suck it up and get over it. I'm tired of having 10,000 flashbacks to a side character dying. Let it go already.
Well, why, yes, I do think the fandom is a little overdone. His death was one of the most memorable parts about the expansion.
Barack, for once, you are finally right. This expansion had some of the best character development I've ever seen in a video game. It made Alpha No turn from a bitch to something slightly better, and how can you forget about the dragons? I mean, those dragons were simply badass.
Oh, right, you mean the dragons that we visit after traveling through some of the worst design zones? Giant empty fields of snow, giant empty fields of sky. Let's not forget about Azus La with one of the worst placed aetherites in the game and the Dravanian hinterlands with no aetherite.
I'm sorry, Joe. But while, yes, those zones are pretty bad, everything else about the expansion was simply amazing. Plus, having the Alexander raid appear out of the lake, that was just plain cool. I'm comfortable with putting this in the A tier.
S tier.
Fine, put it in A tier, Barack, quickly, before he keeps talking.
All right, A tier. Next, let's move on to Stormblood.
Place it in C tier because the C stands for I can barely stand it.
Stormblood is nowhere as bad as A Realm Reborn, but it 100% is the weakest out of all the expansions.
Quite frankly, you are both wrong. While, yes, I can admit that it's probably the weakest story-wise, it has the most memorable zones and music. Who brought you the Underwater Palace? Who brought to you the best city in the entire game, Kugane?
Look, the best city can be found in the lavender beds on Ward 2, of which I own all of.
That is just pathetic. How can you take all the housing for yourself? Do you not care about the player base?
Look, it's just called being business smart. Square Enix allows a system for a singular player to buy all the housing and turn a massive profit. by creating submarines. You are just upset that I'm rich, poor Joe?
Can you two just stop it? And Donald, that is just outright mean. The housing should be shared.
Mad because bad?
Let's get back on topic. As I was saying earlier, who brought you the Azim step? I mean, when you first step into the zone and get blasted with that music, it's just perfect.
That music was stolen from The Lion King, and you know it.
Let's not forget about the patches in Yotsuyu and Gosetsu's arc. That was some of the most heartbreaking scenes I have ever seen in my entire life. What about the epic raid on the castle?
You know what else is heartbreaking? Considering this garbage anything higher than a C.
You know, there are actually quite a lot of supporters of this expansion in the community.
That's fake news, and you know it. The expansion is split into two pieces between Alamigo and Doma, which did not fit together at all. Xenos was an uninteresting, unfulfilling villain, and Lise was just sad. Very sad.
Let's not forget how boring those generic desert zones are in Alamigo. I wonder why you didn't include those in your list, Barry O. What about that awful song everybody was singing at the end after killing Xenos? That was just plain embarrassing. Did they want us to hold hands and sing Kumbaya after?
I think you two are just upset you didn't complete Eureka and get your Demi-Ozma mount.
Sorry, I'm not interested in wasting my time with outdated gameplay. Nobody makes games like that anymore.
Skill issue.
Look, nobody is impressed that you wasted your life for a mid-tier end of expansion time waster. Place it in C tier, as I said before, and move on.
Fine, I'll place it in C tier, but I'm not happy with this. Stormblood doesn't deserve this. Okay, next is Shadowbringers. Quite frankly, this game is S tier material and deserves nothing less.
Agreed.
You know what? I'm surprised you two bozos finally have a good take, but yes, this game deserves to be an S tier. It simply had the best story I've ever played through. Each zone was unique, and it pushed our imagination farther and opened up the game world to an entire new planet. The Tempest, what can I say?
Let's not forget about the music, the memes, the Soken, the Lahi, the Bunny Girls. Oh, the Bunny Girls.
What did you just say?
Joe, do not get sidetracked again by the bunny girls. Please. We see that enough at your Balmung nightclub. But yes, everything was top-notch. It brought in mystery with the Crystal Exarch and the Ascians. It brought in tension with Yulmore. It cemented our bonds with our fellow Scions and brought possibly the best villain I've ever seen in Emmett Selk. The writing was so incredible, I should have hired the writer to help me push bills in Congress.
There was no helping you there. And Joe, you and your bunny girls, quite frankly, are a little creepy.
The only creepy thing is the way you try to grab them.
Hey, now let's move on. We are all in agreement. Shadowbringers is a clear S tier. Great, let's move on to the final expansion.
Thank God, let's hurry this up. It's a beautiful day to admire Baelsar's wall. The Garleans truly were magnificent.
Enough, Endwalker. What do you two think of this?
That expansion was the perfect conclusion, just beautiful.
Yeah, the perfect conclusion to my ass. That was one of the most mid-tier endings I have ever seen. The story already took a massive nosedive, bringing Xenos back to life, but having him as the final boss, pathetic.
Are you just upset that Xenos has nice hair? Xenos in Stormblood was crap, but Xenos in Endwalker was amazing. The way it broke the fourth wall, recognizing that you were there because you loved the challenge, the adventure, that was so satisfying, and the way he helped you to defeat the Endsinger. The redemption arc was real, and you have to admit it.
I can admit the redemption arc was real bad. The expansion pales in comparison to Shadowbringers, which had perfect pacing. The constant tension. This expansion was all over the place. It had some nice slow moments with the burger, but then all of a sudden we are given 2 zones to find out the evil threat is some depressed emo Twitter bird.
Donald, I agree that the pacing could have been better, but there were a lot of frankly beautiful moments. In fact, I'm not afraid to admit this. I teared up a bit. When Urianger was hugging Moonbreeda's mom, seeing the sacrifices Hydaelyn made, what about the entire Garlean plot? And that final moment when we see Emmett Selk and Hythlodaeus again?
Oh, boohoo, Square Enix milks the same characters over and over and over. Moonbreeda died during a Realm Reborn, and they cannot let Emmett go. They didn't shake up the cast enough. Now that we know all the Scions have infinite plot armor, there are no surprises left for us. They dropped the ball on this one.
I'm about to shove a ball in your mouth. The characters being brought back help cement their legacy in the game. They are a wonderful callback for the fans. Who wasn't excited to see Emmett? This expansion brought all the characters, all the memories, all the friends we made along the way together. Seeing the way Alfino commands everybody from around Eorzea to help the spaceship, the character growth has fully reached fruition. This expansion deserves an S tier ranking, and you know it.
I know that you are probably missing your medications right now.
Okay, because it seems we are in a disagreement, let's put this to a vote. I'll compromise and put this at an A tier.
I'll second that, even though it should be an S tier.
Hold on, stop the count. This belongs at a C tier, maybe B tier at best. B for barely qualifies above Stormblood.
Sorry, Donald, looks like it's 2-1. All right, I think we are done. Any final thoughts?
Thank God this is over. You know what? After taking a final look at this list, I have to say this with all honesty, this is pure, utter garbage.
Yeah, this list is pretty bad. I'm going to go back to AFKing and LIMSA.
I hate these two.